Hey guys, good morning. It is Friday, October 12th, and this weekend is Handmade and Bound at the Southern Festival of Books. So that's where I'm going to be this weekend, and I'm going to do a con recap for it. So the last time I did Handmade and Bound, and you guys can check that out here on this channel, it was held at Watkins. It was just one day, and it was kind of limited to handmade books, comic people, that sort of thing. So it wasn't a particularly big show. Last year, they switched over to partnering with the Southern Festival of Books, which is a big show. Book vendors, authors come and give panels. It's open to the public. I mean, it's a much larger show. It's a 3-day show. And I couldn't make it last year because I was standing in a friend's wedding. This year is the first year I'll be able to make it, and I know the Southern Festival of Books is kind of a big deal, and it's expensive to table at. Like, I went as an attendee when I first moved to Nashville. It's expensive to table at as an attendee if you weren't tabling with Handmade and Bound. But tabling with Handmade and Bound offers a unique, affordable opportunity to be able to be physically at the Southern Festival of Books and selling without paying for the big 10 by 10 tent space. So I'm going to be in the Handmade and Bound table tent area, which is kind of like, it looks like, given the map, right by the entrance. And I will let you guys know how this weekend goes. Setup this morning is from 8 till like noon, and it opens to the public at noon. And I'm aiming to be there. I want to leave around 9, so I'm aiming to be there around 9:30, get set up, and then I'll check in with you guys. So this is the map that they sent me. It's with mostly just login information. So if I remember Southern Festival of Books correctly, and I don't want to turn my camera, so I apologize for this view, but this is where a lot of the author and publisher panels are. This is sort of a big open space, and that's where a lot of the big book vendors are. And then this is going to be where the Handmade and Bound tent is, unless this is where we're going to be. I don't think so, though. So there's going to be food trucks, and I think I remember there being music, but it's been a couple years and some things may have changed, so I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how this weekend goes. I'm definitely a little bit nervous because it's a 3-day outside show with they say there's security, but they also say they're not responsible for any of your materials left behind, which tells me that you shouldn't leave your stuff. And it's outside, so like I really don't have much of a choice in leaving my stuff since I sell books and original paintings and things of that nature. So at best I can leave my setup materials like my tablecloth and my grids and my spinner rack, but I've got to pack everything else down all 3 days, and that always ends up being a mess. So I'm kind of hoping I can get my stuff packed down in such a way that it's easy to set up again the next day. But it's going to be a learning opportunity, and we'll see. This might be the year I finally invest in one of those locking plastic carts. Alright, so parking was actually incredibly convenient, and this is the Handmade and Bound tent, so this is where we need to check in. We do have to get it down these stairs, but they're pretty shallow, not too bad. So this is the Handmade and Bound tent, and today is gorgeous. I hope it warms up a little bit, but otherwise it's going to be beautiful. Once the tent company comes, they're going to come and put up all of the walls, so we're going to get lots of eyeballs on our awesome stuff. And it looks like I have an 8-foot table here, and it actually looks like it's in good condition with 2 chairs, and I love their banner. And there's all sorts of people who are going to be here. Like I saw the table placard for Paper and Guards, which is a local calligraphy company. So this weekend should be really cool. Alright guys, I think I'm just about set up. Since there is only one of me until 5 today, you don't get to see me behind the table. You do get to hear me behind the camera though, at least. So it looks like everyone has 8-foot tables. And the tent guys have not arrived yet because the tent walls are still down. It started out really chilly this morning. It's starting to warm up, which is good because my fingers are icicles. So I was counting on a 6-foot table, so the 8-foot table was a very nice, pleasant surprise. Lots of room, lots of space, room for my print rack. We could not have a more beautiful day for this. So today I have copies of 7-inch Kara, of course. I have pages from volume 2. I've got the Tower of Minis, and I reprinted this week and reassembled this week, so there's lots of new ones. I have beautiful hand-painted charms. I've got a little bit of promo stuff for my upcoming Making Comics and Zines class with Nashville Community Ed. I've also got some originals in both black and white and a few that I have watercolored. So those are originals, not prints. I've got some stickers. I've got some unpainted wooden charms. And I've got copies of 1001 Nights for sale this weekend. I also have my last 2 remaining copies of Ladies' Night, Eat It Up. So if you want to read a story about Yakitori, that would be where you pick it up. So the Southern Festival of Books and Handmade and Bound are going to be open from 12 till 5 today, from 10 till 6 tomorrow, and from 12 till 5 on Sunday. So if you're in the area, make sure you swing on by. Alright, I apologize for the backlit, but hopefully, well, it's not actually backlit, I guess it's frontlit. This might be the best we're gonna get. So Joseph helped me get the tablecloth on and the 2 sidewalls up. I guess we got here about 9:15, and it's like 10:30-ish now. So doing the rest by myself, it took me an hour 15 minutes, which is not bad. Hopefully tomorrow morning we can get this up a lot faster. Same goes for Sunday, because I think I'm going to take everything down except for the grid walls and the tablecloth. And part of that is because this is clearly not a super secure tent, and also it's not going to protect it from the weather, and when you're selling paper goods, they're very susceptible to the weather. However, like I said earlier, it is a gorgeous day, bright and beautiful. I know Sunday we're supposed to have rain, so that's going to be interesting. Oh, people are starting to come by. So it doesn't open until 12. I was kind of hoping I could do a little bit of a walk around just to show you guys, since it's not actually open yet. So obviously that is me. The Handmade and Bound tent isn't huge, but it's not tiny either. And we're right next to a really beautiful fountain, and there's lots of signage around that kind of explains different events and the music, etc. So there's going to be live music, there's lots of tents, there's going to be food trucks. In fact, Yayo's is here already. So, and admission is free. These are all going to be up. Those are all going to be up when the show starts. And it's right across from TPAC. I don't actually know what the parking situation is like, because they allowed us to park in a loading zone and then park from there. And Joseph basically just helped me throw up a couple of things, and then he had to go to a meeting. So I don't have any idea today what the parking situation is like. I do know SCBWI is going to be here. They have the option where you could volunteer and get time at their table, but honestly I think doing it with Handmade and Bound is a much better deal. So there are book vendors here, and these are like the 10 by 10 tent spaces. So most people are not fully set up because it doesn't, or they're not open yet because it doesn't open until 12 anyway. And then there are more tents down that way. I'll probably have Joseph go around with the phone on Saturday and just kind of get some shots. Wow, that's really kind of picturesque. But yeah, with outside shows, it's always a toss of the die. Those of you who saw my Cherry Blossom Festival video saw that I got rained out and all my stuff got wet. Whereas the year before, Cherry Blossom went really well, and most of these shows don't have a contingency plan for foul weather. So that's just a risk that you take hopefully this is going to get good crowds. Hopefully there will be people interested in indie publications. Every year it seems like I'm continually surprised by the new barriers that pop up to keep small people out, but also the new ways that small people can earn a living doing what they love without having to work with a publisher, or without having to wait for that Cinderella moment of being good enough. And these kind of small sales opportunities are one of the ways that publishing is a little bit more egalitarian, because you can sell directly to an audience who might be interested in your work. So yeah, here's hoping. I can't wait till they get all of the walls down, because it's going to be nice and bright in there, and hopefully a little bit warmer. But there's all kinds of beautiful things that are going to be for sale at Handmade and Bound. I'm next to people who make beautiful handmade albums and handmade paper, and then I'm also next to a printing press demonstration. So I've got a really cool spot. Hopefully it won't be too noisy. So this is me. I focused more on original art and books. I had somebody ask me on how to be a con artist, what do you do if you don't have a print display, or is it quote unquote weird to not sell prints? Quite frequently when I'm at these kind of shows, I don't sell any prints at all. I'm not really a big fan of prints, and I don't like to buy prints, and I'm not a big fan of getting them in my Kickstarter packages either. I'd rather just get the book. So, like, you know, I don't like selling things that I don't buy. So this is what a display that doesn't have any prints can look like. And in fact, there's very, very little fan art. Favorite Fictional Femmes is a lot of like fan art kind of stuff, but it's all stuff that actually influenced my art. And then a couple of the painted Favorite Fictional Femmes, and then the zine itself. But other than that, no fan art. So you can also do tables with no fan art. You're not going to make as much money necessarily, but it makes you flexible for other kinds of shows too. So I will check in with you guys later in the day once the show's really started. The food trucks are starting to arrive. So yeah, hopefully it'll be a good day. Alright, so we're about 15 minutes from the show starting. They finally got the walls down, like literally a minute ago. And before everybody got super busy, I wanted to just kind of do a walk around of the Handmade and Bound tent. Almost said something else, but the Handmade and Bound tent. So Paper and Ink Arts is here selling all kinds of goodies. A lot of really beautiful stuff too. I love those cats. A lot of beautiful handmade books, of course. Couple comic artists. We don't have the largest comic scene here, so I think the fact that there's like 3 of us is a pretty good show. Speaking of, if you're in the Nashville area, I am teaching a 6-week making comics and zines class through Nashville Community Ed. The cost is only $60 and the materials are provided by Nashville Community Ed, and honestly, I cannot think of a better deal than that. It's like I've got some customers. Alright, so the show has opened. The food trucks have started to arrive. And before things got too busy, I kind of wanted to walk around with you guys and show you. So that is the music tent. They've got food over there. And it's a chilly but nice day. So like, if you're walking around, if you're enjoying the show, you're probably moving around enough, getting enough exercise that you're not going to freeze. Unlike me, I'm freezing. My table though is finally starting to get some sun, so hopefully I can warm up. So this is the Handmade and Bound tent. Not everybody's set up, but most people are set up. Looks like some of the book vendors are set up and selling. This might be the SCBWI tent actually. No, that's the Parnassus tent, okay. I know they partner with SCBWI a lot though, so Maybe that's what's going on. And then there's a tent for the author's book signings. And then we kind of have these smaller vendors selling books. There's the SCBWI tent. Okay, so that's where it is. And I gotta be quick about this because like every time I leave my table, people come over. But it's still early enough that I know people aren't really like, most people aren't ready to commit to buying. And then this is where you can go to support. And ooh, ice cream pops. And then here's the children's stage. So this is the youth area. This would have been a good area for me, I guess, but it seems kind of quiet compared. Very Harry Potter themed. Ooh, yummy stuff. I wish it wasn't so cold because raspberry rosewater is my jam. This is the entrance I'm used to seeing. But you can come in either way, and the food trucks are in the back. Well, quote unquote back. You can come in either way, like I said. So it's a good way to kind of get people all the way through. And it's a really pretty square, and it's a really beautiful day. And honestly, I'm really glad that Handmade and Bound are participating in this, because this is a really easy access way for an independent vendor to sell their handmade or self-published stuff. Usually that has a higher barrier of entry, and it's often something people just kind of shrug off as like not, they don't care, like, oh well, self-published, you're just gonna have to get real. So this is like really nice. Oh, I like that display. That they, I like this one too. That's really cool. And see, every time I leave my table, people come. All right, so that was Southern Festival of Books and Handmade and Bound as of like 12 o'clock on a Friday. So it's about like 3:30, and they've had music playing all day, and it's been all kinds of music. I really like this one, so I'm going to share it with y'all. But somebody who played earlier had like really cool stuff too. I don't really know how to describe it. This reminds me of like the Bee and Puppy Cat music though, so it's really cute. It's just cool that this is a venue and an opportunity for different types of music, because here in Nashville sometimes it seems like the only music they play at like kind of low-hanging fruit gigs, not to call this a low-hanging fruit gigs, but y'all kind of know what I mean. Early artist gigs, I guess, is like country. So it's really cool that they're playing a variety of music today. Hey guys, so the first day of Handmade and Bound is over. I know I'm all like teary and snotty. It's not because the day actually went poorly, it's because I don't know how to hold my camera and show you guys. But it's because as I was loading out, I tripped on like an inch change in elevation, and the weight of the boxes I was carrying basically slammed me into my car, and it really hurt, and it's my right arm. So I cried a little bit because it really hurt, but it wasn't because of the show. So today went pretty well for me. I don't have a final tally yet. I sold a few copies of Kara. I sold 2 copies of Lady Nights. I sold some zines. I talked a lot about my upcoming workshop or set of classes with Nashville Community Ed. I got to talk to Mary Beth with Nashville Community Ed. My table neighbors were really nice. I'd heard a couple of artists who were like on the other side of that tent say they didn't do super well today. I don't really know what their standard of expectation is, because like when you change medium, your profit margins, your expectations of what you should bring in all change. And like historically as a comic artist, I always don't sell as high. Like my high-end items are less expensive than some people's low-end items. So like that completely skews my expectations of what I'm going to make. So I was happy enough with today, and people say that tomorrow is also going to be, or tomorrow's supposed to be better, which is good for me. I know the table was kind of expensive. I don't remember off the top of my head how expensive the table was. I'm going to look that up and share that with you guys because it is important. Joseph thinks it's $150. I keep thinking it's $230, but that's why I want to double check, which $230 seems really high for me to be willing to pay, but it was also a table at the Southern Festival of Books and less expensive than the 10 by 10 tents, so maybe I justified it that way. I don't know, I'm gonna double check. I certainly didn't sell like $230. I sold one something. I don't think I sold $230. Maybe I sold $230, but I sold one something, which for an indie show is good for me. And is usually enough for me to be like, yeah, it was a good day. The only problem I had is that I basically froze all day. So tomorrow I'm bringing gloves and a blanket, and I'm going to dress a little bit warmer. I mean, I'm wearing corduroys and a long sleeve sweater and then a sweater on top of that, and that wasn't really warm enough. So I'm going to dress warmer, and I showed up with my hair still damp, so I'm going to bring a hat tomorrow because, you know, that's one of the things that happens with outdoor shows. You can get rained out, or it can be swelteringly hot, or it can be, you know, just slightly too chilly for someone who's sitting's comfort. I would consider this kind of lucking out because usually I get rained out or die of heat stroke. So yeah, not bad today. Good crowd, good foot traffic. This show gave me access to a different demographic than I usually see at shows. There were a lot of older people, so a lot of grandparents were buying copies of Kira for their grandkids, which is cool, and that's not a demographic I normally get to sell to, and that's why I tried doing like craft fairs, and the Firefly Artisan Fair was I wanted to be able to reach that demographic, and Southern Festival of Books seems to be a better spot for that for me. So before I finish this review, I'm going to let you guys know how much the table cost, and I'll see you guys probably tomorrow. Hey guys, good morning. It is Saturday morning. I know I look super tired. It is 8 something. I slept like garbage last night. Even though I was super exhausted and racked when I went to sleep, I had a lot of trouble falling asleep, and I ended up having to take a melatonin at about 2 in the morning. So yesterday, my big takeaway is that I was cold for all but 2 hours of the day, and it got grinding and unbearable kind of towards the end. And it wasn't even that cold, it was 55. But when you're sitting in 55 in like the shade the whole time, it's hard for your body to kind of keep up with that. And I never took a chance to eat because I didn't want to get my hands all greasy from the food at the food trucks because there weren't any bathrooms. Like, there were porta potties, but there weren't any bathrooms. So, it's kind of hard to stay warm when your body doesn't have any fuel to burn. So, yesterday, like I said, I slammed my right arm against my car. It's the arm I'm using to hold my phone. I'm not doing a very good job holding my phone with it. My arm's actually pretty tired from it. So, that's awesome. And I think I made 171 yesterday, which before I say goodbye to you guys, I'm going to give you guys I'm going to tell you guys how much I paid to get into the show. But 171 feels like I covered my table costs. So I'm going to try to hold my camera with my left hand because I just can't do this anymore. Which isn't a good sign. I've been doing a lot of damage to my right arm, right hand, right shoulder lately, and that's my dominant hand that I draw with, so it's probably time to take a break with it. I managed to get an Inktober sketch done yesterday and inked while I was waiting in between sales, and my biggest sales were from Handmade and Bound organizers, which I super appreciate, but I don't know if I can count on that today, but I hope so. It'd be really nice to make some money. I've had a lot of really bad shows, so it'd be nice to have a good book show. I don't know. Oh, so today is from 10 to 6. So I wore like fleece-lined leggings, and I'm wearing a sweater, and I'm wearing an undershirt, and I'm wearing corduroys and I'm gonna wear a leather jacket and hopefully some warmer shoes, and hopefully I won't freeze today. But we're also bringing a blanket, and Joseph's gonna be here to help me the whole day, so I should eat at least. So I ended up breaking my table down a lot more than I planned on it. I planned on only like packing my paper goods, but I ended up packing away a lot of my hardware because I got kind of an impromptu, unrequested life critique from the older artist next to me who had been an art professor for years, and it was just like kind of unwelcome, and I was trying to be polite, but it also kind of messed with me, so I'm feeling kind of crummy this morning. Like, I'm just kind of like in a lot of ways. So I mean, I know she was trying to help, but it was kind of like any time someone who doesn't know anything about what I do unsolicitedly talks to me about what I do, they always suggest I laterally slide. Like, she was really pushing that I should go into advertising instead, and it's like, first of all, advertising is a whole different background set of skills that I don't have, and I'm older than I look. And she was also like crapping on art schools, and it was like, you know, I didn't really ask for you to crap on my education just so you can feel good about teaching at a public college. Like, that's great, and I think egalitarian education is super important, obviously, but I didn't ask you to crap on my education or how I spent my money. So yeah, it's always fun to sit through something like that as you're trying to break down and mind your own business, and then have to get up and go sit by them again the next day. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do today, and I'll see you guys at Handmade and Bound. Good morning. It is Saturday, 10 a.m., so Handmade and Bound has officially opened. They are removing the vinyl panels as we speak to open it up to the public. The food trucks have already arrived, as have some of the people. It is a very brisk morning of recast that may affect the crowds. I look forward to seeing how that affects today's attendance, and I look forward to checking in with you guys a little bit later.
What is that?
Hey guys, so I don't have a total for today. I have a massive headache. I did double check and it was $100 for the table, and I made $171 yesterday, so I already made my table back. Today's sales seem pretty good. I think I sold like 10 copies of Kara, which is pretty good for me. A lot of families, a lot of kids, a lot of people actually looking, except it was so cold that like anytime the sun broke through, people would stop and they'd look and they'd chat, and anytime the clouds came over and it got cold again, people would just like hurry from here to there. I'm going to talk more in depth about all of this tomorrow when hopefully I'm feeling better. Sitting in like 55-degree weather all day really took a toll on me. I feel like garbage. So I'm going to go take a hot bath and work on my Inktober and then go to sleep. But I just wanted to kind of check in with you guys on how today went. It went good. I'll have a total for you guys in the morning. Hey friends, so I apologize for my short ink cap yesterday. I was just whipped. I was super exhausted. 10 to 6 in the cold makes for a very long day. So I did my tally. I made $244 yesterday. Most of that was book sales. A few of that was charm sales. Those items were the majority of my sales. This is the only show where I've actually sold multiple copies of Lilliputian Living. I have kind of quit doing as many indie comic shows, mostly because they're far away or they're expensive or I can't get into them like SPX. So it's really nice to be at a show which is growing indie. That's really cool. It didn't rain yesterday. It is raining today, but it's supposed to warm up. And it's supposed to have lower humidity from like 2 to 11 p.m. So I'm really hoping we'll get some people out today. I do think if the weather had been nicer, we would have gotten a lot more people. So I think the setup is good. I think the idea is solid. I just think that so much is contingent on the weather. Where I stand right now, I would definitely do a show with Handmade and Bound at Southern Festival of Books again. I think it's a phenomenal opportunity. Yes, you can buy tents, and I think Joseph walked down and showed you guys those tents. Yes, you can buy those spaces, but they're really expensive. So if you're not going to make a lot of money at the show, like if you just generally don't make that kind of money, Southern Festival of Books, the Handmade and Bound tent is a really good opportunity for you, and they're looking to expand. They'd actually like to expand to 2 tents, and I got the okay to tell you guys, you comic artists out there, you zine artists out there, that you're totally welcome to come and apply. They'd love to have you. It's not just Watkins students, although they're probably going to work on getting even more Watkins kids to table. I know as somebody who teaches like tabling and be a con artist, that for a lot of people it's getting them to overcome that level of shyness and actually take the chance and show their work to people. There's some people who have no shame and they like immediately want to start, which is great, and then there's some people who have a lot of baggage and they're not comfortable sharing. So I think that it's getting them to that point where they're comfortable having a table there, and I told them I would love to help them in any way that I can, so hopefully they'll take me up on that offer. I'm pretty good at pumping people up, getting them excited, getting them to see the benefit in their work, getting them to see the beauty in their work, so hopefully I can put those skills to use. Those skills make me really happy. I like getting people comfortable with their own art, because that was a journey for me, and I have a lot of knowledge on how to do that I can help other people with. So that was like the big question mark a lot of people gave me, was like, well, where are all the Watkins students? Or did you graduate from Watkins? And no, I didn't graduate from Watkins. I am teaching with Nashville Community Ed, and I also found out yesterday that Watkins and Nashville Community Ed are very closely tied together. So I'm actually really excited about that, and it makes me really excited about teaching my class, and it makes me really excited about being at Handmade and Bound and being able to represent myself and the comics community, and hopefully do more to kind of unify that community and build that community in Nashville. I mean, I've been here for 5, almost 6 years now, and I have, when my depression allows, I have put in legwork towards that, but one person alone who doesn't have the resources, who doesn't have a venue, it's just probably not going to go anywhere. It takes a phenomenal amount of effort and time to organize stuff like that, and that's not time or effort I can generate on my own. But partnering with like Watkins, sorry, my eyes are like all funky from yesterday. Like I can tell I'm going to get really sick this week, and that's from being out in the weather, and that happens. I'm just going to try to take it easy. That's like the other big downside, is like, yeah, there's like a huge physical toll that this takes. So the tablecloth cost is very low, but the physical cost is middling to high. So, you know, if you have a lot of stuff, if you can find a way to bring it easily and carry it back, then, you know, that physical cost isn't so high. And I don't even have that much stuff, but I have a lot of books and paper goods that I don't want to leave out in the humidity. And even just being in Louisiana in a house, they'll warp sometimes. So I'm really cognizant of how delicate some of those things can be sometimes. So that has been a concern as well. Anyway, this is our last day. It is from 12 to 5, so I slept in, and then we're going to run by Jerry's and drop off some flyers for my class with Nashville Community Education. Hey guys, good morning. So it is almost 12 o'clock on Sunday morning, and we are here at Handmade and Bound at the Southern Festival of Books, and it is a drizzly, gray, rainy day outside, but at least the weather is a lot warmer. So we've changed the setup a little bit to kind of take into consideration the weather, and the folks at Handmade and Bound are kind enough to leave the walls up today to help us protect our stuff. So given the direction the rain's coming from, they're hoping to funnel people in from here and from here, because the rain's coming from this direction and that direction over there. So they're trying to help us protect our stuff. So this morning we got here at about 11:30. We had some load-in troubles because the security guards / cops who are patrolling the load-in zone are still not quite on the same page as everybody else. He did let us park since it was going to be just 2 boxes of books, and we were like in and out really quick. But if you're carrying a lot of stuff in weather like that, that is something that you need to consider, parking and loading in proximity. So since we're in kind of it's not a dark tent, but there isn't as much lighting as like if the walls were all open, we busted out some of our lights from when we did the Firefly Artisan Fest, just to kind of add more light to the table and help draw interest. I also opted not to put out my portfolio original comic pages out, because those are one of a kind and they're very susceptible to this kind of weather damage, being watercolor. But I do still have originals out, and if the weather gets worse, I'm just going to go ahead and pull them. Otherwise, I think everything is set up, and we're just really waiting for the show to start, and hopefully people start coming in. Sorry. So I'll check in with you guys a little bit later during the show and let you know how things have gone. Alright, so this is Sunday at the Southern Festival of Books. Even though it's raining, there are still people here. The weather forecast, like I told you guys, is supposed to clear up in a bit. I really hope it does. We passed the Tennessee Art and Craft Association craft fair, and there are people out there, so I'm kind of hoping people will come out here too. So we ended up openings on all 4 sides, but this one's kind of like a quick release, so that if me and Katie start getting rained out, we can move the flaps. I did notice water was starting to seep under the tent, so Joseph and I have been kind of brainstorming ways that at future events we can kind of future-proof that, because we do cherry blossom, and we got rained out of cherry blossom last year. So we were thinking about making like visqueen wraparounds and having a visqueen floor that we could just kind of close up if the rain gets bad. Because that's the thing about these outside events, they're really nice, a lot of families, there's music, there's usually like a good atmosphere, but you can't control the weather. And this sort of humidity is not great for paper goods. So I understand the concern of people who, this is the Parnassus tent, I don't think they're open yet. I understand the concern of people who don't want to work these shows, but if you do kidlit stuff, this can be a really, really good opportunity, and it tends to be fairly affordable. Like a lot of us, see that's the Parnassus tent, so they've got one big opening. A lot of us don't see a lot of traditional support, especially like comic artists. So these sort of venues are really good for selling directly to our audiences, which can also be really good for the self-esteem, because it shows you, at least it shows you, that there's a market for what you're doing and that there are people who want it. And that is the Support the Southern Festival of Books tent. And there is the kids section. They had events going on yesterday in the kids section. My kids were making mandrake roots and hedgewig owls. It was cute. But I'm grateful to be in the Handmade and Bound tent instead, just because to me this seems a little out of the way. It seems like where people drop their kids off rather than where people spend money on their kids. And then down there is a row of tents for like all sorts of stuff. Writing organizations, publishers, some independent authors have tents. So those are like the tents that one would buy if one wanted to table and one wasn't tabling with some other association or like Handmade and Bound. But I really like being able to table with Handmade and Bound. It feels like a good fit for me. I'm really hoping I can get more comic people to come out and table. Money's not bad, but it's not like travel worthy yet. But I could see this becoming Nashville's comic scene, which is something I really want to happen. And I think I talked about that last night or this morning, about how like one person fighting the fight by themselves can't really do it. So yeah, there's still people around even though it's raining. Sorry, trying to be respectful of families and their kids' privacy. Probably run the face blur thing. So this is the auditorium, and this is where a lot of like the writer panels are. I would really love to see them do like an artist panel or an illustrator panel or a comic artist panel. Would be pretty sweet, because there's more to books than authors someday. And this is where the authors are signing their books. Same thing goes for this. Let's promote our illustrators. Let's really support our illustrators, because they're doing a lot of work and they don't get much recognition. Let's support our comic artists, because they're doing it all. They're juggling it all on their shoulders, and they're treated like they don't exist or like they're not real creators. I just mean in general, not at this show. I've also kind of found that like a lot of events don't actually realize how poorly comic artists are treated. So like just being frank about it and being like, yeah, thank you so much for letting me do your author panel. It meant a lot to me as a comic artist to be allowed to participate in something like this, because this is usually a barrier of entry. Even just saying something like that can really help. All right, so that's the Handmade and Bound tent. Apologize because it's kind of dark. And then there's the food trucks, which we've been fighting with for parking. And then a bunch of them decided not to show up because it's raining. I actually personally love food trucks because I like tasty bites, but I don't like fighting with them over the loading zone because they think they need to be here early. So we've got a kebab truck. We've got Bolton spicy chicken, which I had their fried fish on Friday, and y'all, I'm from Louisiana. I'm used to some spice, but that was like a mean level of spice without any flavor. So if you like just mean spicy things, that's a good pick. And then we have the Maine Lobster Co., and then there's something in the middle that I can't see. And then the lemonade vendor, and that's really cool because he's a small business. It's him and his mom. Suki C. Ricky's Fresh Squeezed Lemonade here in the Nashville area. You should definitely give them your patronage, because that's just a local family.
30 years of this festival.
And there's the Handmade and Bound tent again.
Very cool.
And I record these kind of lengthy recaps because there's creators who watch my channel, who read my blog, who aren't just anime con artists, who don't just do prints, who don't just want to do anime cons. There's other types of shows. It's a beautiful Handmade and Bound tent. And here is my handsome partner who is manning the table for me. What do we have here this weekend, sir?
Comic about tiny people.
A comic about tiny people Is it a short comic?
No, it's 4 volumes long.
So it's a tall comic. It's not a short tale, it's a tall tale. It's an American mini myth.
One might call it.
One might call it that. What else you got here? What are these small bound books?
Various minis and zines.
And
This is a comic about crawfish boil in Mississippi. These are zines, compilations of sketches from Inktober, which is a monthly challenge for artists to ink something in completion every day of the month of October.
wow, that takes a lot of work.
It does.
What else you got?
These are laser cut wooden charms, hand painted by wonderful artists.
That sounds like a lot of work as well.
It's probably tedious work. I'm not sure about a lot of work.
How scratch resistant are these?
I hear they're very scratch resistant.
But
Someone
you
has told me that they wore theirs for 2 months without treating it.
It was 2 years.
2 years
On my
Okay,
war
you must know
jacket,
this
so I wear
person
that
as
thing a
well.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without any-
No real scratches, no real damage. I was impressed. That spray I'm using on those is nice. I like that spray. What are these?
Same thing, no paint.
No paint.
They are cheaper.
They're cheaper. Okay, so if I have 2 kids, I should get the 2 for $10 because that way they both can get something. And it
That
looks
is
like
what a lot of parents get suckered into.
it's a good deal, to be fair. Like you get
Yeah.
something for each of your kids, and there's stuff for
I've seen
girls
people-
and boys.
I've
And
seen people selling woodcut jewelry for closer to $30, and it's smaller than this. So yeah, I would definitely say that's a good deal.
it's a good deal. Yeah,
With
they're
less
cute.
intricate etching as
They're
well.
they're
So-
cute. And there's stuff for like all kinds of people. There's flowers and succulents and cute acorns and leaves and the dino who's missing a tail. He's seen some. I've replaced him 3 times.
did
I'm
that
done.
happen?
I'm done because that tail always snaps off. Well,
I mean, it looks cool the way that one's broken.
this sign gets a lot of wear and tear.
Maybe
It travels.
You could actually sell the ones with broken tails for more because they're special.
Alright guys, so we just packed down from Handmade and Bound. It rained all day today, did not let up. And I will get back to you guys with our totals and with my thoughts on the show and with my suggestions for where it can go next year. Okay, so my final total for this weekend was $537. I definitely think if the weather had been better, sales would have been a lot better. The location is really good. It's downtown. There's a lot of tourists. There's free parking in the area. And it's already partnered with the Southern Festival of Books, so you have an audience who really love books. You also have an audience who have money to spend and enjoy spending it on books. So if you have comics, this could be a really good venue for you, especially if you have print comics. The minis sold okay. This is one of the better shows for minis. It wasn't necessarily an audience trained to like look for minis, although people were willing to pick them up on Friday and Saturday. I didn't have too many people just casually browsing on Sunday today. And I think it's because it was so nasty and dreary and gray and muggy and humid and like the paper was all damp and gross. So I ended up having one sale at the very end for 77 bucks, which kind of fixed my total for today. But, you know, the weather is what it is. One of the suggestions I have is if it's going to rain like that, put down Visqueen maybe to help prevent the water from seeping under the tables. Or maybe put sandbags on the inside of the tent, except then that's just going to kind of channel the water at the entrances. I know there's not really a whole lot anyone can do about the weather, which is why I'm hesitant to critique on it, but it is something that you should be aware of and you should control for if you can. And I'm not blaming the show for that either. I mean, a solution for me as an artist would have been to bring some garbage bags to place under my table or to place around my stuff just to kind of help prevent water damage, although that's not going to stop leaking, or I'm sorry, stop warping on paper goods that are up on the table. And that's one of the reasons I didn't have Kara, the portfolio with my original comic pages in it, out today. And I think that definitely didn't help book sales because people like flipping through it, and it's usually a really good conversation starter, and that was something I desperately needed today because a lot of people, I engaged a lot of people, but most people were just like very much not interested in chatting. And I think again that's because of the weather. So this is a local show for me. It's like 10 minutes down the road. Didn't pay for parking. Did pay for food truck food, which is expensive and not always great. But there's lots of restaurants in the area, and it was close enough that I could have brought my own food. Like, no one was going to stop me from bringing my own food and my own drinks. Even just granola bars, if that was something I was super concerned about. Now, as for the profit, I made about that much doing Cherry Blossom my first year. But the first year I did Cherry Blossom, the weather was gorgeous. Like, it was like the very first day that we'd had real spring, so the sun was out. It was a little cool, it was a little breezy, but people were definitely out and about and enjoying themselves. So I think if the weather had been like clear and bright and cool fall the whole weekend, people would have been more likely to spend money all weekend, and I would have seen better sales. Would I do this show again? Heck yeah, I would definitely do the show again. It's really cool that it's at the Southern Festival of Books. That's a really big deal, and now I get to say that I sold my comic. This comic was sold at the Southern Festival of Books. This comic was sold during the Southern Festival of Books. To participate in the Handmade and Bound tent, I don't know that there is really any restrictions, so long as the majority of books you're selling are either self-published or published by a small press. But honestly, you could probably get away selling your like Oni Press book, for example, if you're also selling minis and handmade stuff. So I think as long as there's a good proportion of handmade stuff on the table, you're welcome to come sell your comics at Handmade and Bound. And the application, it's a $25 application fee, and then you pay $85 for the table. And really, that's just to cover the cost of the tent that's above us. They're not looking to make a lot of money from this. One of my big disappointments is it didn't seem like there were a lot of Watkins students tabling or in attendance, and it would be really cool to see more kids from Watkins tabling. So as I do the rest of my shows this year and next year in the Nashville, Tennessee area, I'm really going to encourage people to put in for Handmade and Bound so we can get more comic artists and more illustrators at the show, because they are welcome at the show. Right now, who would you say, what type of maker was in predominance at Handmade and Bound? There was a lot of like handmade book people, is what I noticed, like yeah. Art books. Yeah. So like handmade paper, handmade books, hand marble paper, but not necessarily like books with content in them. You know, like these are like notebooks and sketchbooks, as opposed to like zines and comics. So I definitely think there's room for comic people. I'm there. There's a few other awesome people there, and I think we'd all like to see more comic people there. Just, you know, want more of our own represented. So, I think that's all I've really got to say about Handmade and Bound. I think I showed you guys plenty of footage. Hopefully I was able to help you make a decision that was useful for you. I will say that the organizer, Maggie Fancher, is fantastic. She's really nice. She's knowledgeable. She's very open to suggestions and critiques. So, in terms of like their staff, they have a small staff, but they have a really nice staff, and they have dollies to help you like bring your stuff in, and they try to make sure they have loading zones for the artists so that we don't have to like haul our stuff all over the city. And they're willing to help you load in, load out, break down, and they're willing to table sit so that you can go to the bathroom, or you can go get food, or you can just go enjoy the show for a little while. And all of that's really nice, and it makes for a nicer show experience. And she was very present. Like, she was always in the tent, or she was right by the tent, or she was walking around the tent and talking to artists. So I really felt like she heard our concerns, and she was doing what she could to help with those. And that's always really nice, because not every show has staff that care so much. So I think that's about all I've got for Handmade and Bound. Thank you guys for sticking through this review. I hope it provided plenty of information for you guys. If you're in the Nashville area, I cannot recommend you table at this show enough. And if there is some reason why you cannot, I would say get in contact with them and talk to them about that reason. Because if it's like a financial reason and there's enough people who are like, I could afford to put in $30, but I can't put in the whole $100, maybe they could do like table splits or pair you with other artists or something like that. So, because I know they'd like, Maggie was talking about really wanting to see 2 Handmade and Bound tents next year at Southern Festival of Books. So they want more creators who want to be there. They're open to that. They want to grow. And, I told them I'd be happy to help them in whatever way I can. And this is not a paid endorsement. I paid for my table. I just really enjoy the show, and I really do want to help Nashville have a comic scene. I feel the same way about New Orleans, you know, whatever. I can do that doesn't cost me an arm and a leg to help, I will do to help. So thank you guys. I will see you guys again with another con recap when I have another con. Bye guys.